Like I say, I was rich. There are a couple of my sites. Like there's that one little city. It's this water. It's this water channel that goes down and around, and then I have a couple different sites. Like one of them was there's a big paddle wheel, and the water went underneath or over the top of my textile. So the water would go along, and then it would hit the paddle wheel, and the paddle wheel would turn, and then it would run like a stone or a metal sprocket. I mean, not a sprocket, I mean a wheel. And then the belt, which was also a leather belt made from cowhide, basically, sewn together, stitched together cowhide. They tried cat gut, but it didn't really work out. So anyway, cowhide. Anyway, it would go from the water wheel up to the textile machines, and then it would go through all my wheels, all my steel wheels, those little long channels, and they have all the wheels on there. And then that would run other belts, and then that would go down to the textile machines. And at these factories, you could practically just put in the hair from the hair and the cotton into the mix, and it would straighten it out, and it had all these like raking machines and everything to like tick, 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 and like to get it into what's called. Then they would spin it into the thing and what's called. And these machines ran 100% off of water power. Like I said, initial investment was like because it's stone. So that means they had to cut the stones, and they were using granite stones. They're all made out of granite. So they had to cut the stones, and then they had to put all the stones down the water channel. Like I said, I also use brick, but mostly I use granite rock. So they put the stones down the water channel, and then they lined the creek with the stones. So great big stones, and like stacked like 3 feet thick or 7 feet thick of just solid stone to make the foundation for these great big buildings. And then the big water wheels, actually they went like this, because the water was going down. Anyway, and then these things were free, 100% free. Like no coal, no steam, no nothing, just ran on the water. And then we would have a reservoir up high in the valley, and they would crank up the things. A big screw would lift this gate, and I think they used 2 screws or whatever, like that, to go. And every day at 8 o'clock, and sometimes like the creeks wouldn't trickle out that much water; they would just trickle out just enough. So every morning the reservoir would fill up, and then they would go. And we even had like little diverters sometimes to like channel the water into a bigger stream, so it would run through the paddle wheel harder. So they go, and it go down, and then so the machines would go, they would do it, and you just put the cloth in, you just put the hair in, and like my initial investment was like 1,500 pounds of money or whatever, or like 3,000 pounds, but these things ran for free. I mean, and I just had like a small staff of like 3,000 or like 600 people. 300 to 600 people that would just sit there, and they would just watch the machines all day. Just like go make sure nothing got broken, make sure everything was in working order, take the hair and put it in there, and then put it in the machines and just thread the machines. And the machines just go or they spin up, then they just spin the yarn, and 100%. So the people didn't have to do anything practically. They just let the machines work. And I was like, yes, this is it. We're gonna be. Actually, I was doing it mostly because I wanted to make these great big sailing ships. So I needed to have like 50,000 square feet of sail. So that's really why I did it, because I wanted to make sails for my sailing ships and stuff like that. But basically, but after I did the sailing ships and everything else, I was like, well, let's make some clothes. So like I had yarn for days, and also making blends of clothes, like because my machines, they were made originally for like llama hair and other types of hair. But I mean, you could put polyester thread through it. You could put anything through it, and it would just turn it into yarn or whatever. And then you just put that in a weave, and then a little snip, and then you get clothes. And so like huge quantities of yarn and cloth, and I was the person that did it. I was the person that was like, water power is the way to go, guys. We can do steam. I mean, I did steam. I was high pressure steam. I was low pressure steam. I was like steam man. But I was like, water is really where it's at because it's free. It rains. It goes down. It goes to the textiles. It's free. Like 150 years from now, you can still be putting stuff in there. I mean, you build it once and then it lasts forever. So I was like, I'm going to get my money back. So even though it was like, equivalently, it was like 150,000 pounds for these factories. It cost me only like 100 or something like that because long-term investment on these things, they just keep making money. It just keeps making cloth. So and as it makes more and more cloth and more sales happen, my actual cost goes, at first, it's basically a loan or investment of 150,000 pounds of whatever. But over 30 years, over like 5 years, my actual investment went down to like zero. And then where it's like, so I'm like, yeah! It's built with stone, but it lasts for 150 years. Like if the water channel doesn't change, 200 years, 500 years from now, we can still be using these things. So, people are like, yeah, and like I'm like, yeah. I'll pay it. I'll do it, whatever it costs. I don't care. So like I was 100% in. I was like, yeah. This is gonna be expensive, but it's gonna be worth it. 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 So anyway, so I build these textiles, and so then I make a lot of money, and then also I transfer that money on to like the llama people, and they get free clothing and stuff like that from the textiles, and they're making money. Everybody's making money. And everyone's really, really, really happy because I put out all this money and did this free textile, and so for like 150 years we just like, it's like smooth sailing. I knew it. I was so right. It's so nice. Clothing. Llama. Anyway, so yeah. So everything goes really good, and people love me because all they got to do is just shear the llamas, just feed the llamas. They have an easy life. They just have to grow their food, shear their llamas, and they get to live basically the way they want, and they get to just relax and be with their wife and their children. And for a long time, people are just happy because my ships come, my wagons and my horses come and pick up the stuff, take it down, go to and then sail it to my mill, and then it takes a train up to the mill, and then it goes in, and everybody's happy. Like everybody was loving me. Everyone was happy. Like everyone was like, this is great. Yeah. And I'm doing other things like building cars and doing other things and inventing flight, and everyone was just so happy. It was really wonderful. And that's how I got America, and America is because I was 100% right, and I could provide clothing, I could provide food, I could provide security. I had a plan and a way to go, and we were going there. I did it in Europe, and I did it again in America, and I did it in every country. And people were like, yeah, we want this. And it was wonderful.